Why the Super Bowl kinda sucks. People love the Super Bowl, especially normies. Yeah, my parents said I was streaming that day on the Super Bowl, and they said I should call into work. Yeah, to go and watch it with them, and I'm like, I'm okay. I think it's more of a tradition at this point to spend time with your family, to be honest.
How many times can a person get tugged? Well, we have found the limit at extratugg.com, where you can see exclusive content that I say dirty things in. Go check it out.
Super Bowl Sunday, the closest
Did you call in sick? No, I streamed the whole day, remember?
thing Americans can get to a real holiday without getting a day off from work. We stuff our faces with the physical embodiment of mortal sin known as buffalo chicken dip. Wash it down with a symphony of differently branded water-adjacent light beers, all while grown men concuss themselves on the gridiron of glory. Over time, the Super Bowl has become much bigger than itself, almost a parody.
When I was in college, I read a paper studying the effects of brain damage on footballers in the last 60 years and how they developed helmets to improve and reduce the chance of concussions and permanent brain damage in professional athletes in football. Yeah, now you know, isn't it fun?
Of what it used to be. Much to the dismay of real football fans, Super Bowl Sunday is becoming more about the party that surrounds the game rather than the game itself. Yeah. It's the celebrities, musicians, and fanfare that we celebrate, not the genetic freaks we see on the field. Honestly, the people who show up to the Super Bowl party and actively ignore the game seem like they're having the most fun. Because they're not, you know, screaming at the TV. They didn't bet $300 on a play that obviously wasn't gonna happen. It just hits. We can go to Disney this year, kids. But is that such a bad thing? You know, do you need to care about football to enjoy the Super Bowl? Well, let's find out just exactly where things started to head south or north, and at the same time find out why your dad, who exclusively wears a Lions quarter zip to work, why he tells you to shut the f up during the game. So once again, Chris, hit me with the flashback. We're going back in time as we always do at the beginning of Big Tugg videos. Whoa! Flashback!
Yippee!
Football was pretty much front and center at the first Super Bowl because, yeah, no shit, they didn't really know what entertainment was back then. Even though the NFL began all the way back in 1920, the first inaugural Super Bowl didn't take place until 1967. And the reason the big game was created in the first place was because of a little upstart called the American Football League. The NFL had squashed out all of its competition for the first 4 decades of its existence, but
there's always one that takes over, chat. They get a monopoly.
the AFL, established in 1960, had some money to spend, brother. They would be stomped out easily. It was run by a fella named Lamar Hunt, who was a son of a very famous oil tycoon out of Texas and was the heir to his massive fortune. The AFL was luring away top talent with massive contracts, like giving college star Joe Namath a then unheard $427,000 salary. I didn't adjust that for inflation. That's probably pretty normal, but at the time that was insane. And they even gained a foothold in the television market with an exclusive $36 million deal with NBC. For a few years, the leagues tried to coexist, you know, tried to live together in harmony. They even had a gentleman's agreement where they decided they wouldn't poach talent from each other's leagues. But of course, like any peace treaty a white man signs, it didn't last for long. The owners of the teams became worried that if they started sniping each other's talents, bidding wars would start driving up players' salaries and hurting their bottom line. So in
even back then, they were thinking about it.
1966, they decided to do the twin fusion move and put their leagues together. But even before the leagues officially combined their business operations, they decided to take the step of unifying their brands by creating an AFL-NFL World Championship game. So in January of 1967, the world's first Super Bowl took place. So it would be hard to imagine just how insane the Super Bowl would become if you attended the first one, because this was a far cry from what we think of the Super Bowl as today. Well, it wasn't even close, not even a little bit. Today, tickets to the game cost around like $8,600 just to...
What? Are you joking?
Get a seat. Back in 1967, you could get a ticket for $6 or $12 if you wanted to bool out. And even if you adjust for inflation, that's still only like $100 per ticket. And I'm pretty sure that's the cost of a stadium beer nowadays. But even at those incredibly cheap prices, there were about 32,000 empty seats in the stadium for numero uno. No one really gave a shit about the Super Bowl. The first
And now we need marketing. That's what we need.
Super Bowl, no one really cared at all. At least not like they do today. And they tried to make things better. Like they tried to zhuzh up the halftime show, and that was a disaster. It featured 2 college marching bands and a drill team from a local high school. A local goddamn high school. But don't worry, we have a surprise act that's gonna save the show. Guest trumpeter Al Hurt. You know Al Hurt? You guys love Al Hurt, right? Just for context, if you don't know about Al Hurt, that makes complete sense. He wasn't even cool at the time. This wasn't Miles Davis or John Coltrane playing the trumpet in front of everybody. Al Hurt played Dixieland jazz, like the shit you hear in the back of like really silly blooper reels. Like no one was into this. And for the grand finale, they had a fantastic idea. At the end of the game, they released 10,000 helium balloons and a bunch of pigeons. Like,
oh, that's not gonna be awful or anything. Man, people really didn't think about logistics, huh?
Like 100 pigeons. Not the Blue Angels, but it's something. So yeah, a far cry from the current Super Bowl model that we have today. And like, also, we called it the Super Bowl retroactively. Like that was not the name of the event until 3 Super Bowls in. Lamar Hunt called the game the Super Bowl in interviews, claiming he was inspired by the Whammo brand Super Bowl his kids were playing with at the time. And the name wasn't even popular at the time. Like people in the NFL and the fans thought it was fucking stupid, but the press loved it, so we stuck with it. Now it is the Super Bowl. But where do you go when you start at the Mariana Trench of bottoms? Well, surely nowhere but up. From its humble beginnings, the Super Bowl slowly became an American institution. Of the 10 most watched TV broadcasts in American history, 9 of them are the Super Bowl. The only thing in history that Americans watched more than the big game was the Apollo 11 landing, and they just tuned in because they were sure they were going to watch people die, and that's kind of why people tuned into the Super Bowl in the first place. The game has even gone global.
This is what I meant by Roman Coliseums never left, man. People want to see a disaster.
Broadcasting live to over 195 countries or territories in over 25 languages. The Super Bowl's popularity seemed to be a steady trajectory upward. And there's an argument to be considered that its popularity is completely tied with an abundance of consumerism. And if you thought I was going to do a whole big Tugg episode on the Super Bowl and not mention the horrors of capitalism, what the f did you think I'm going to do here? The more popular the Super Bowl has become, the more advertisers are willing to spend on it. And all that leads to more than $17 billion spent by consumers in the United States on Super Bowl related purchases. That being like the food you get for the game, or like a jersey you get for your dad, or like the streaming service you decide to sign up for because that's what the game's gonna be on this week. The NFL needs to figure out streaming, Jesus Christ. Not to mention the economic impact for the host city that can reach upwards of $1 billion. And now we're at the part where the Super Bowl has—
Yeah, but then it also runs into the same problem as the Olympics. What the hell do you do with this massive stadium after that nobody gives a fuck about?
Has officially grown out of its toddler clothes. And
at least I don't think it's as bad because from what I understand, they cycle through big stadiums a pretty decent amount. Yeah, concerts. Yeah, they at least reuse it to some extent. I think the Olympics is way worse because there's like different sports and stuff. It's just a stadium. Yeah, it's not that bad. But I still think it does damage to like the actual surroundings of the city and stuff. Like traffic and stuff is really bad afterwards.
It's exploding. It's so ubiquitous and overreaching that even if you don't watch the sport, you end up going to a Super Bowl party because that's just what you do. And because of that, a lot of people see it as, well, it's just a party to a lot of people. And that pisses off the people who actually give a shit about the sport. But let's just go over some of the data to really show the disparity. 75% of Americans plan on watching the Super Bowl. That's 75, but only 38% of them actually give a shit about the sport. So it's a weird... Oh my god, that's—
Jesus, dude. Okay, let me break it down. It's a social thing. I don't give a frick about football. However, my family doesn't give a frick either. It's more of a social gathering thing for like socializing and looking at people kicking a ball. I think that's not a bad thing to have, like people getting together and socializing. The consumerist aspect is a bit much, but you know, it's not the worst thing.
The weird disparity between jocks and nerds, you know what I mean? According to surveys, an overwhelming majority of Americans are more excited for the halftime show, commercials, and drinking. It makes sense that Super Bowl Sunday is overshadowed by the party itself. Because, like, the only day Americans eat more food is on Thanksgiving. We eat so much food on Super Bowl Sunday. 11.2 million pounds of chips are dipped into 8 million pounds of guacamole. 12.5 million pizzas are ordered. Over 1.45 billion wings are devoured. And approximately 14 billion burgers are burgered. Or grilled. Why did I say burgered? And to wash it all down, approximately 50 million cases of beer are
50 50 million?
Sold. God, doesn't that stat just want to, don't you want to get behind the wheel of a car? But I mean, if you're trying to get someone into Super Bowl Sunday, this amount of food and booze is a surefire way to get anyone hyped up for the season. Everyone loves an excuse to party, and that's pretty much what the Super Bowl has become. In fact, 16.1 million Americans plan to call off from work the next day.
Wanna know a fun fact as well? On the launch of World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King, Pornhub and the average employment statistic of people calling out of work on the day of and the day after went up significantly, and the amount of visitors Pornhub had on that day also went down. Yeah, people really love entertainment. Entertainment and breads and circuses, very important to the humanity.
0.4 million workers plan on going into work late, and approximately 6 million employees will call in sick. And I don't know what this does to the economy, but it cannot be good. All told, the financial impact from our collective super hangover is estimated to cost companies around $6 billion. Okay, so I put it in the script. I didn't remember that, so I'm glad I got that answer immediately. Honestly, I don't really care about the bottom line of business daddies. I don't really care what happens to them, but I do find it interesting that Super Bowl Sunday turns a bunch of seemingly normal people into absolute monsters. As someone who, look at me, doesn't really care about football. I don't want to shock you, but I mean, Jesus Christ. But when you go to these parties, you're gonna have to navigate certain types of people in order to get out of there alive. So I've broken down the types of people you're gonna meet into categories, and I'm calling it Big Tugg's Big Game Party Archetypes, which is BTBGPA.
BTBGPA.
I don't know. I could have done that better. So up first, the one person you really got to worry about are the actual football fans. They're different. So actual football.
I'm happy for them. I'm happy they're enjoying it. I'm not that miserable and that much of a bad person.
All fans recognize each other in two.
Of course it's an Eagles fan! Man! Look at this guy enjoying his football! These are actual crazy people. I don't even know what that means, bro.
Distinct ways. Either by dress code, being like a jersey, but not like you can't just like pick up any jersey. It has to be like a vintage logo or like a player that like only, it's like, you know, a deep cut. Or they recognize each other by like when someone sits down and they're all watching the game and they're actually watching, and then they start talking ball knowledge. For example, one of them might say, wow, I can't believe the D is running a 2-high nickel shell against the PFF's highest ranked tight end tandem.
What the hell did you just say? What? Did he speak in, like, friggin' alien language?
No f***ing clue what any of that means, but if someone says that, you know they're in the know. These people will band up together for the rest of the night and kind of just shit on everyone else who's not paying attention. And, okay, so, like, it's easy to hate on these people because we outnumber them at this point, but, like, it's their big day. Let's not be dicks, okay? Yeah. And they're super important because the majority of the night is watching a football game, and if you don't know what's going on, you're gonna need them to clue you in. You're gonna need them to dumb it down for you. So be kind.
Yeah, my parents were kind of like that when we watched the Super Bowl. At least my dad. Like, he kind of knows. He's not a Giga fan or anything, but he'll explain it to me. I'll be like, oh, was that a touchdown? And he's like, no, that ref is blind! He's a fucking piece of shit! He should go kill himself!
Offer to get him a beer every time you get up from the couch. Just really keep it low key. They're gonna talk a lot of shit to you.
Classic
You just gotta handle that because you need to figure out what the is going on. The worst thing you can do to these people though is talk about the commercials. They hate that. They don't. Oh my god. If you ask them what they thought about that commercial, they'll kill you with their eyes. And also, it must be said that Super Bowl commercials are not what they used to be in the early 2000s and 2010s. They've fallen from
because they were actually funny, or at least somewhat funny.
grace extremely, so it's not that big of a deal anymore, but still, don't mention it to him, okay? Now, this next group of people are gonna seem like the first group of people, but they are distinctly different, and these are the degenerate gamblers, okay? Degenerate gamblers and the Super Bowl go hand in hand. It's like, ebony and ivory. Last year, 26 of American adults, nearly 68 million people, placed a wager on the game, and the total...
If you gamble on this shit, you a clown. You got a big red nose and we got Hong Kong.
Total amount of these wagers is approximately $23 billion. That's a lot of shoe money that people's children need. So that being said, statistically, there's gonna be at least one degenerate gambler sitting next to you at a party. Now, once again, you'll notice them and they're gonna be yelling at the TV just like the sports fans, but they're gonna have esoteric knowledge about the game. They're gonna have knowledge about really extremely minute things because they placed a 10-leg parlay on very specific moments in the game and they need to really let those things hit. And you can bet on anything at the Super Bowl. You can
For
bet
those that don't understand how Gambo works for those kinds of parlays, is that certain things have to happen in order for you to win the bet. Like, for example, off the top of my head, they have to score like 10 field goals, or one of them has to run across, this guy has to run across and get a touchdown, that kind of thing. And then they get their money, and it's stupid. Like, ugh, it's dumb. Statistically speaking, what I'm trying to say is statistically speaking, they aren't supposed to win.
on the coin toss. You can bet on the color of Gatorade that's dumped on
Exactly, this kind of shit. It's just dumb shit.
a dude's head at the end. And while the other dudes might get angry at the TV screen, they're not gonna...
I'm even being too specific because it's related to the actual game. Yes, chat, correct. Someone said, I saw people betting on over-under how many times the camera cuts to Taylor Swift. Yes, you can bet on the dumbest shit happening. Yeah.
Get scared. And that's the difference between a degenerate gambler and a regular football fan. The degenerate gambler gets scared during the game. Because if certain things happen or certain things don't happen, they will not be able to eat tonight. It's just best to give these people a wide berth, or at the very least start gambling with them so they can cry on someone's shoulder who understands. And then finally, we have a group of people that a lot of us were, a lot of us are, and we need to discuss it. And these people are the sports ball people. We gotta stop doing this, guys. Listen, in 2013, this was a good joke. When you showed up to a sporting event and you were like, oh, I don't know anything about, what's this, sports ball? What are these jocks talking about? That joke's not funny anymore. It's actually really pathetic. You please understand that it is not good. These are the people who show up to the party and think they're better than everyone else because they don't care about football. And that makes them, I don't know, intelligent or...
Then why did you show up? Like, I don't care about football. I'm just happy to, like, look at people having fun. Low-key, if I get invited to a party and people aren't, like, fucking dickheads or whatever, I'm cool. Just let me chill. If I don't get it, I'll ask you, and if you're not a dick to me, then, like, thumbs up. Thank you for including me in your social activity. I like social activities on my own terms.
Or have a higher level of intellect, I guess. And I was there. Listen, I was there. We were all Tumblr kids. We all get that. But you have to understand that not liking fun things doesn't make you interesting.
Yes,
it makes you boring. That's a really important fact of life that we all have to learn at one point. Don't talk about how the NFL's evil because of their fucking, concussion protocol. Don't talk about, like...
I mean, they are, but it's funny. I'll make jokes like that if people find it funny. It's true, though.
Like everything I talked about with the money, don't leave that shit at the door. So just knock it off, all right?
It's called reading the room. Like, I might have social anxiety and people are like, oh my god, Alana, you have the tisms and whatnot. Like, I have understanding of, like, what people want to and don't want to talk about. Just be normal, man. Holy crap. This is coming from a person who hates people.
Done with that. But now that we've discussed all the weird people at the party, let's discuss the game itself. And I'm not going to talk about football because I don't know anything about that, but we can talk about the fanfare. Usually we pay extra money to avoid ads in America, like premium streaming services like Netflix or Extra Tugg. You can go to extratugg.com and see a bunch of fun, just fun. But Super Bowl commercials have become the cultural currency of water coolers and lunch breaks on the Monday after the game.
And before you say anything, I remember when I was in New Zealand and also in Europe, when the the football World Cup happens and there's like baked in ads back in like 2008. I remember my dad watched the World Cup. Yeah, the FIFA World Cup. They have baked in ads just like they do at the Super Bowl, and people do talk about that thing because they were fun. Yeah, I don't think this is an exclusively American thing. More so, we're just corporals eating money. But I think it's, I understand why normies talk about that kind of thing.
Advertisers are willing to pay anything to get their product in front of hundreds of millions of eyeballs. During the first Super Bowl, a 30-second ad only cost $42,500. Today, a 30-second Super Bowl ad costs $7 million. That's about $233,333 per second on the TV. The buzz from commercials became such a big deal that in 1980...
But we don't stop the game for it. Yeah, the Super Bowl has commercials in the middle, doesn't it? For the most part. Yeah, nobody stops the game. You're still playing the game. It's just when people are not playing and they're not in the field. Super Bowl commercials are between plays? Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, man. They're not... Okay. I don't know. Whatever.
USA Today created the Super Bowl ad meter. It's a real-time survey that asks consumers how they felt about each Super Bowl ad. The results are used as a metric by many advertisers and consumers to see which company won the big game. And this, I mean, Jesus Christ, how dystopian is this? So, like, we're all, like, judging how well did you sell your product to me? More food for me, please. But even though these ads never top the ad meter list, I'd be remiss not to mention the Bud Bowl. Variations of this ad ran during the Super Bowl from This
is so aggressively American. Fucking Budweiser,
1989 to 1997, featuring bottles of Budweiser and Bud Light playing a game of football against each other. And this is, I mean, these commercials are perfectly stupid. This is just like, this is what you expect to see on Super Bowl Sunday. The bottles are wearing helmets. The fans are cans. It's all perfect. It's all laid out before us.
This is so perfect for advertising. It's evil. I love it.
Bud Bowl was America. Yeah. Unfiltered. Golden roasted tobacco. So we get through the pregame some of the ads. Now it's time for the big thing that people mostly care about, which is the halftime show. The big kahuna. The thing that you can't believe how much money they spent on this goddamn thing. But it wasn't always a huge production. For the first several decades of its existence, the Super Bowl halftime show was primarily a showcase for marching bands. But then the Super Bowl 23 halftime show was completely unhinged. It was broadcast in, quote, 3D and featured an Elvis impersonator named Elvis Presto. Finally, at Super Bowl 25 with Whitney Houston, they figured out the formula. Use pop stars. Just use goddamn pop stars. Today, performing at the halftime show is a bucket list item for any pop star trying to make their way in this world, but it's more about legacy and exposure because this gig does not pay that much, I found out. You don't earn a single cent doing the halftime show. None of the celebrities have ever earned any money doing that. However, generally, performers will see a boost in their streams and album sales over 300%, so it evens out. At one point—
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's more of an exposure thing. Seriously? Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure after Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, it's just like he got an insane amount of plays. People bought his albums and stuff, yeah.
The NFL even tried—
And it happens to everybody. And usually it's celebrities that already have a bunch of money anyway, like—
to get performers to pay to get on the halftime show. But even with a very weird business model, there's no denying just how grand a spectacle the halftime show can be. I mean, Prince performing Purple Rain while it was raining was peak, was generational peak. And then there was the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson—
oh no—
nipple thing where she showed her nipple. That was weird. And of course the Katy Perry halftime performance, which birthed the meme of the left shark who had no f***ing clue what he was doing, and I love that little guy. And then to finish it out, there is the game.
I remember that.
The football game. And like I said—
no one cares!
I don't care about it. Most people don't care about it, but to the people who do, it means a lot. So let's just give them their space. But statistically, throughout a football game, only 11 minutes of the actual game are played. I like hockey, and a lot of hockey is played during the game of hockey. What the f is that number? I don't know how you have the time to decide who's the better team in only 11 minutes. That makes no sense to me. And what is special teams? And I just want to talk about how football confuses the shit out of me as an absolute dork on the internet. Listen, I'm trying to learn, but like every time there's a play is done and someone explain, there's like a billion plays that you can do. And then there's a bunch of
I remember a long time ago, I think that I remember being in like middle school and there was kids trying to explain these plays on a board. And I did not follow it at all, with the X's and like running in and who goes where, and I'm like, what? Yeah, it's really convoluted, like silly little stupid lore that I think people who are into it are like really into it, I guess.
And then there's a bunch of types of penalties that don't make any sense to me. There always seems to be a new rule that, oh, you can't do that, that's a rule. Tom Brady made sure of that. And when your team loses, your city gets burned down, and when your team wins, you burn down your city if you're Philadelphia. It just doesn't seem like fun at all. I don't know. We should have two separate things at this point. We should have a Sunday in February where everyone, just has a party, and a Sunday where the game happens, and those are completely different things. Let the mass media sell you ads during the party. Just everyone sit down and just zone out watching the TV. Let the football football people watch football and gamble their life savings away. I think that's what it should be at this point. Anyway, no
Well, that's
conclusion.
what
I
it
guess that
is,
was a
bro.
conclusion. Like, comment, and subscribe. New videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Shout out to the extra Tugglets, though. They're the real heroes of this the football game. They went to extra
Chad, he called them Tugglets, bro.
Tugg.com. They subscribe for an extra video every week, as well as updates and goodies, and they get to do polls, and it's very fun, and everyone's having a good time over there. Look at all the names. I mean, you can't go wrong with all those names, right? All right, well, check it out. It's good. It's worth it. Happy football, everybody. I did the sports ball thing again. God damn it. All right, have a good one, guys. God damn it.